In Tyria, there are 5 sentient races: the humans, the Norns, the Char, the Sylvari, and the Asura. All of these races have different customs and cultures, but today I'll be focusing on my favourite, the Sylvari. The Sylvari are a race of sentient humanoid plants, and only appeared in the world fairly recently, in the past 20 or 25 years or so. They are born fully grown and equipped with knowledge through a pretty strange process. To the south of the map, in the Tarnished Coast, in an area known as the Grove, stands the Pale Tree, a massive monolith growing from a magical seed. The Pale Tree is conscious through magic, and embodies itself as a being known as the Avatar of the tree. The Sylvari are born from pods that sprout from the Pale Tree's branches, but their birth is still more complicated than this. Shortly before they're born, Sylvari experience the Dream of Dreams. Now, as the Sylvari wander the world, they're linked to the Pale Tree, who they respect as both a kind of mother and deity. Any particularly strong emotions or experience they bear witness to is passed back to the Pale Tree, who then filters the information into the dream. The Dream of Dreams is a mysterious pre-birth state that the Sylvari experience, in which they're given a few minutes to come to terms with the knowledge of language, combat, and worldly matters they've been given before being physically born into the world of Tyria. The Sylvari are also an excellent race because their lore beyond the Pale Tree has roots in the past. So, about 250 years ago, a group of humans began a cult to worship these wrathful, trans-dimensional, weirdo sorcerers known as the Mursat. And their goal was that the Mursat would return one day and destroy all of civilization, apart from them. This led to the Crichton Civil War between the loyalist humans and the cultists. Now, a human loyalist named Ronan one day came across a cavern guarded by these semi-sentient plants, and the cavern was filled with seeds. So, being the foolish human that he was, Ronan swiped one of these seeds the size of his fist and returned from the Civil War, intending to show his daughter the seed. He sadly found that his home had been burned down by the Mursat whilst he was away, killing his family inside. Ronan buried his family and planted the seed near their graves, swearing never to go to war again. Many years later, he was joined by a centaur elder known as Ventari. Now, if you've played Guild Wars 2, you'll know that the centaurs and the humans are mortal enemies. But despite this fact, the two found common ground in their peaceful lifestyle and lived together, tending to the Pale Tree seedling. The Pale Tree learned virtues and morality from Ronan and Ventari, and before the centaur elder passed away, he carved a tablet of virtues and left it at the base of the tree. As the Pale Tree grew over the graves, Ventari's tablet became the moral basis for the Pale Tree's sentience. And because the Pale Tree is the warden of the dream, where all Sylvari learn of the world, her offspring are all born with the innate sense of honour, nobility, courage, compassion and chivalry, as learned from Ventari's tablet. So, some of the Sylvari, i.e. the player characters, and several throughout the world, aren't just born. They're born with a goal that's told to them whilst they're in the dream. This duty or goal they're naturally driven to accomplish is called a Wyld Hunt, and Sylvari born with them are named Wyld Hunt Valiants. A Wyld Hunt is usually a pretty noble goal, unlike the great hunts that the Norns undertake for the sake of their own glory. Some examples of Wyld Hunts range from defeating the Elder Dragon Zaitan, as with Kaith, to cleansing the corruption of the sunken island home of the gods Or, as in the case with Traherne. In all, the Sylvari are a pretty interesting race. Despite the eldest, the firstborn, only being about 20 years old, they're a race of noble, wise and kindly beings, some of whom are born for the sole purpose of making the world a better place.